to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is right over there. Please
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With us this evening, we have Sherry Steffens, trustee, Dr. Brian Graham, superintendent, Ashley Dreyer, president, Sue Marston, vice president. We have Jake Grover, trustee, and Danielle Bruno, trustee. Joy Lamarca and Glenn Bobeck are excused this evening. And we also have, who else do we have? We have Mike is here, Mike Gloria, assistant superintendent for for human resources, curriculum and instruction. Bob Merkel, who is assistant superintendent for business and finance. Jude Kuhn, our district clerk, is over there, and I don't know if I missed anyone else that's here. Yeah, is she here? Oh, anyway, and Cheryl Cardone will be here as well, assistant superintendent for pupil personnel. Or no, for assistant super, yeah. Personnel services. Yep. I always want to say director of special ed, because that's what we call it in our district. But. And then announcements this evening, if you could silence your cell phones, that would be appreciated. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda for August 28th, please, for this evening.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes from August 7th, please?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. Under correspondence, recognition, and good news, we had a wonderful presentation by Cindy Booker honoring Mrs. Diane Teedy for her work here at Eagle Island. And Dr. Graham, I don't know if you want to add anything, but it was a wonderful celebration with so many people that have contributed to this space.
Yeah. Over 7 years ago, I met Diane and have been impressed ever since. This is a beautiful gem for a school district to have, and I can't think of any other district, at least locally, that has really a built-in homemade science museum for our students. It really is an exciting place, so if any of our board members want to schedule a visit during the school year to see how Cindy Booker has taken this over, we'd love to give you a little tour and watch our kids in action. And although the numbers aren't as accurate because of just missing data, Diane has influenced well over 20,000 people here in our school district. So Cindy, I couldn't think of a better person to take this over than you.
Thank you.
And you have poured your heart and soul into it already. And your presentation for Diane was just outstanding. And I'm going to be using a couple slides in my superintendent report and during our welcome back assembly on September 5th. So. And I think I was talking to Mark Gordon, Cindy, we're going to use some of your slides, the video that Mark has taken, and we're going to create something that's displayed in the wall of honor video tribute that was designed by a naming committee years ago. I know, Robin, you worked so hard in getting that TV monitor across from the Viking Theater. So with Mark's help, we're going to get some of the stuff that you put together in a video slideshow so that all students and visitors to the high school can appreciate the great work that she has done and how you have honored her in this way. So thank you.
Yep. Great job with the presentation, Mrs. Booker. Sky wants me to tell you you're still her favorite teacher, too. I told her that I would, but I didn't get a chance to see you before. You were very busy, but thank you for all of your hard work and continuing the great work here at Eagle Island.
Thank you.
Welcome. Public comment session agenda items. We did not have anyone sign up for that, so that brings us to curriculum and instruction. Nothing at this time. So we will move on to personnel, instructional. If I could have a motion to approve instructional personnel PI1 through PI3, please.
I'll motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0.
Introductions.
Yes, we have several introductions. Let's start with Max.
Okay, there's a-
Good evening. I'd like to start off with introducing Edward Lonergan. Edward, please stand. Mr. Lonergan is our new elementary orchestra teacher, replacing Mr. Luthart. He will be working with our Youth and Kegabyne Orchestra students. Mr. Lonergan recently received his Music Education Advanced Certificate from the University of Buffalo, where he was also awarded the Chayette Prize in Music Education. Last year, Mr. Lonergan worked in the Buffalo Public School System at the Roosevelt Early Childhood Center as the general music teacher, instrumental teacher, as well as the after-school musical theater program director. We look forward to working with Mr. Lonergan at Youth and Kegabyne, and we're excited to have him enhance our Grand Island music program. Congratulations. And I'd also like to introduce Catherine Faturos. Mrs. Faturos will be replacing Mrs. Siebert as a teaching assistant at Heath Road. Ms. Faturos graduated from Niagara University, where she earned a bachelor's in education with a concentration in liberal arts, English, math, and social studies. She received certification in childhood education as well as special education. Ms. Faturos has already made a positive influence on the students in Grand Island by working as a teacher's assistant at Kinder Kids Early Childhood Center and St. Timothy's Lutheran Child Care Center. She has also supported the students of Grand Island through her work as a special needs baseball buddy volunteer through the Miracle League of Western New York organization. I look forward to working with Mrs. Faturos at Heath Road. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, just come on up if you have some intros. I know we have, yeah. Do you want to come up, please? Excellent. And then we'll go to Hillary next.
Hi everyone, I want to introduce Rebecca Hennessy. Rebecca, if you want to stand up. Rebecca has her bachelor's in psychology. She has experience working at the Autism Learning Partners and in Tonawanda City Schools in her 1211. She's going to be a teaching assistant at Kegabyne, and she's working split between both of our 1211, second and third and fourth and fifth. And with all of her experience, we feel like she's going to be the perfect fit, so congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. Gabrielle, if you can stand up. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Gabrielle Horvath, who will be joining us at the high school in September in our business department. Gabrielle has a bachelor's degree in public relations and marketing from Kent State University, and she just completed her business and marketing certification program at Buffalo State University. Gabrielle has prior experience working in marketing, sales, social media, and event planning for several years prior to pursuing her teaching certification. We are looking forward to the industry experience that Gabrielle is going to be able to share with our students, and we are looking forward to her joining our team next week. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Cheryl Cardone to introduce John Fitzpatrick.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know John, John, you understand. John is our new administrator on special assignment, working in district office. John has got lots of big tasks, number one being youth mental health first aid. He'll also be doing some teacher aid training. John will also be looking at onboarding, and we'll also be looking at some middle school, high school alternative programs as well, plus several other duties that when John and I sit down and talk, we'll get there. John, kind of a funny story. I used to be a science teacher at Newfane, and one of my teammates went on maternity leave. This was years and years ago, and that was my first introduction to John Fitzpatrick because he was the long-term sub for Annette Alice. That was my teammate at Newfane Middle School. So remember that a long time ago, John? John has had, besides being a science teacher, he's had 9 years of being an assistant principal at Wakefield, I believe. And then I've had the pleasure of working with him for the last 9 years in both of our roles. So now I'm getting another chance to work with John in a different role. So congratulations, John, and I can't wait to hear more of Molly's stories. So.
That's right, thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Adam, if you could stand. We're very excited, and I want to thank the Board of Education for supporting everything that occurs in this district, from all these new hires, the new teacher academy, and so many things. And today, supporting the administrator on special assignment, Cheryl was kind, but the amount of work that John's going to lead in that capacity is really going to benefit our children, particularly with the Youth Mental Health First Aid. And I know Cheryl's going to talk a little bit more about that in Roundtable. But with that said, with the appointment of John shuffling over to the administrator on special assignment, we're very, very pleased and happy to announce that Adam Bufamonte will be the interim principal at our Veronica Connor Middle School. Adam has served us for the last 3 years as assistant principal, and he has served for at least the same amount of time as assistant principal for the charter school of applied technology, which was in the middle school capacity there. His leadership experiences will support our student needs, and we're very excited to welcome him as interim principal. So congratulations, Adam.
Moving on to personnel non-instructional, if I could have a motion to approve non-instructional personnel A to PNI 1 through PNI 4, and B motion as well, please.
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. And that brings us to finance with Bob, or finance.
Yes, I'm looking for action on items A through F. So A is some school buses that we sold at the auction, so just to accept those winning bids. There were 4 full-size buses and 2 small buses on that. And then the rest of the items are just obsolete items. There's some manuals, textbooks.
Okay, thank you. If I could have a motion for A, please.
I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. And then it looks like we just have the check warrants for July as information and extracurricular reports. So that brings us to special education. It looks like we need a motion for some programming services A and C.
For CPSC and CSC, please, correct, and then also action for ratification of the first hearing officer. So if we have action on those. I'll motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0.
And then I also have a non-action item, which is the code of conduct, first week of the year about this time. We review the code of conduct as the administrative team. There are changes, I believe, in like a reddish purple. Nothing really glaring changes, just adding some language, adding a little bit of different language with our dress code. So if everybody could look that over, I wanted to thank Hillary. She really did a nice scrub on this, so Hillary, thank you very much. So we did discover that some of our superintendent hearings last year, we needed to be a little bit more precise in our language, so that's a lot of the language that was changed this year, so that when we do go to our superintendent hearings, they're a little more precise, a little more informative. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Great, that brings us to policy. We have an attendance policy number 7110. If I could have a motion to approve 7110, A, please.
I will motion.
And a second.
I can second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. And that brings us to our superintendent's report with Dr. Green.
All right, thank you very much. Robin, would you be my arrow down person at the computer? That would be lovely. Thank you kindly. Just arrowing down. I do, it's been a really busy summer, as I've shared in other board meetings, and I want to thank Kathy Chadwick and her leadership with our community education program. As you'll see on some of the slides, it was a robust community education program. One of the touchstones of this program is the musical theater, workshop that is led by Carissa Sugar and her sister. These children not only were excited and thrilled to entertain, you can keep going, but you can see it was an excellent attendance, and they put on a big show. And I think Mark Cortland's daughter was part of that, once maybe as a director and then eventually as an understudy, right? She had to step in and know all the lines. So we're very blessed to have, an amazing community education program. So I want to thank the board for your continued support. I also want to thank Jude for helping us with a pretty big event that we had in Sherry. I think you were in attendance for this. The district has purchased Zero Eyes, which is a human-verified proactive gun detection and situational awareness software that integrates with our cameras. And we hosted a Zero Eyes seminar, really a seminar on just regional safety, but focused on gun detection technology. So you'll see that we had many people from across Western New York in attendance, even from Rochester. We had 21 school districts show interest, 2 BOCES, Niagara University and Damon University were here, the Erie County School Boards Association, we had some private schools here, and of course a lot of local, state and federal law enforcement showed interest. Can we just go to the next slide? Just so that you can see, what this is all about. Right now there are 35 schools across the United States that use Zero Eyes as an added layer of safety. And in New York State right now, it's Grand Island and Salamanca, but we do know there are some other districts interested. Many of the districts that attended this seminar are very interested. And one of the moving pieces here is to get 8 BOCES in the state to back this solution. So there's a lot of effort and a lot of conversations with our BOCES and other BOCES. And as you know, once BOCES adopts it, it's much more affordable for schools to add this software. It's just important, can you go back one? It's important for our board to know that the software identifies a visible brandished gun. And as you can see in this photo, the rifle that this Zero Eyes safety specialist is holding is there's a rectangle around it. Can everybody see that? Okay. And the next picture will show the technology working on the outside and inside of our buildings. So you'll see the person and the square that goes around the weapon. What happens is that there is an Operation Command Center in Philadelphia and Hawaii, and those command centers are responsible for reviewing any alert that comes to them from across the United States. So if the image that you see of the person outside the middle school is alerted at an Operation Command Center, it takes about 3 to 5 seconds for it to be verified. If it's an umbrella, if it's a lacrosse stick, if it's something that isn't a gun, they don't do anything, but they still alert us that they took a look at something and it wasn't a gun. If it is a gun, they have the power to shut down, well, not shut down, but to alert all of the important people, our custodians, our school resource officers, myself, and our principals, administrators. They can alert us within, maybe 10 to 15 seconds and allow our schools to go into lockdown if a gun is visible, of course, on our campus. They also contact law enforcement for us. So in a building like Youth or Kegabine or Sidway, if there was somebody with a brandished weapon, you can hit that one button lockdown and get everybody to safety. Our principals don't even need to make an announcement. We're working on that one button technology for the high school and middle school campus, and I know, Bob, that's going to be a big focus with our team, with Josh and our team, to get that established as well. But as you know, sadly, a lot of the active shooters display their weapons when they're getting out of their vehicles, and this technology will identify that weapon and put into motion communication, contacting law enforcement, and not only contacting them, but guiding law enforcement when they arrive, because this technology will leave a breadcrumb from camera to camera so that we are safe and that law enforcement knows exactly where to go to keep us safe. Does the board have any questions about Zero Eyes? I do want to thank the board for your support. Grand Island is a leader in this area, and we're grateful for the support of the board and the opportunity to share this information with other school districts. Additionally, I want to thank Mike Gloria and Amy McMahon, who worked so hard to put together the new Teacher Academy. This is an example of the work that was done to support our new teachers. Some of our new teachers are here today. And I want to thank Mike and his team for putting this together. And I know, Sue, you were part of that, and Ashley was part of that, so thank you to the both of you as well. So here's a picture of Ashley doing her presentation. And I had a chuckle because one of the candidates, who may have been a teaching assistant in the room, was promoted to a probationary teacher at Sidway, and she was quoting Ashley's presentation with us. So it was really smart for any future new teachers wanting to be recognized. So, and of course, we have this group picture. I think the next slide might show the group picture of all of our new teachers, and we're very, very fortunate to welcome them to our district. And we have a big staff development day coming up on Tuesday the 5th. There's a lot of activity. I know Mike will probably touch on this in roundtable, but one of the big highlights, of course, in the welcome back is just a celebration of how we all inspire and influence, the power that we have to inspire and influence others. That's going to be a main feature, of course, on September 5th. On September 6th, we have a guest presenter, Brian Mendler, who's going to really just impress, I think, our teachers in understanding good strategies on helping some of our most vulnerable and challenged students in the district. So I'm sure Mike might have a couple more words to say about that. And I would say I do want to, as I shared earlier, Cindy Booker did such an amazing job today paying tribute to Diane Teedy. So we're very, very blessed to have had her leadership and service here at Eagle Island. And as she shared, over 20,000 children have been influenced and inspired here at Eagle Island. And finally, we had our August graduation today. Sue was there, Sherry was there, Ashley was there. It was a really great event. And I want to thank John Latanzio for running a New York State Regions High School Summer School program for a lot of children that needed the extra time. And 3 of our students were able to graduate today. And we're very, very proud of them. So nice job to John. And that's all that I have for you today. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the Board of Education report, and we do have one item, and that is the Mental Health Committee. Sherry, I don't know if you want to get us started with that?
Yeah. Is this on?
It'll be green when it's on. Yeah, it is. So I wanted to kind of come back because you guys wanted a little more information, and I wanted to kind of respond to, Glenn had mentioned he wasn't sure if it was kind of our place, you know, for this mental health committee. So I kind of looked up, you know, board members and our goals, and, you know, what I found was that it's kind of our job to establish a clear vision and goals for the school district. But we also serve as leaders in the community and advocates for students.
We want to make sure that we bring the values, the beliefs, and the priorities of our community. And mental health is definitely a priority to our community, otherwise I wouldn't be on the board right now. Because the entire candidacy that I ran was on mental health. People didn't vote for me because my knowledge of education and my experience, because I was only a school nurse for a year, and 6 months of that year it was closed. I was not joined, sad to say, I never joined the PTA in my entire time at Grand Island until last year. And I'm not even from Grand Island, I'm actually from Niagara Falls. So for people to vote, it means that it was extremely important to them to have mental health be a priority. And you know, why I gained a seat on this board. So I definitely think that regardless of, you know, kind of what Glennon said, we might not think it's our place. I think it's absolutely our place to be involved, to be a part of this, and to share the values of our community, which it was important to them for mental health. If you look at like Ruby's survey from when we were doing the budgets, they surveyed the community and said where should, you know, the funding go. They surveyed parents, students, and teachers, and it showed that 84.5% wanted to see increased funding to address social emotional needs and wealth of the students. So again, you know, this is about supporting our community and advocating for our students. And I know Sue last week, our last meeting, you had talked about, you know, me having boots on the ground and being a nurse, and how, you know, that is important. And I think that it is important for the district to be aware of kind of what goes on with boots on the ground. You know, recently I was working in the ER and we had a elementary student come in due to attempted suicide. And the policies in the hospital is when they come in, first thing we do is we have to put them in gowns. So they have to undress, but they have to undress in front of hospital staff because we have to make sure they have nothing hidden, which is very traumatic alone. On top of that, they're placed in a room by themselves, no TV, no phone, no pen, no paper. I'm actually not even allowed to give them a blanket because they can use it to harm themselves. Then they're placed on one-on-ones, and because we're short, just like every other hospital, they end up with our unit secretary, who is, you know, 6 foot, 250-pound male, that is placed in a room with a young child, female. And, you know, it's not the place that kids should be. It's not where we want to send them. It's not what we want to be promoting or saying, you know, there's hospitals that can help. Because we need to do more before they get to that point. We need to step in and we need to put systems in place because right now it's broken. I think that by having a mental health committee, we can establish a community where we meet with parents, students, you know, district employees, and we can learn about current concerns and needs, and we can actually make changes. We can start focusing on evidence-based practice and best practices so that we can stop, you know, the crisis. We want to promote change before it gets to the point where they need to be placed in hospital. I know that you had talked about the wellness committee and they put on presentations. And I was looking at last year's presentations, and in October we did like the dark side of social media, which is great and very important, but again, not completely focused on mental health. November was Narcan training, again, very important, but again, not totally focused on mental health. January was anxiety and depression, which I would say was definitely focused. May was vaping. I just don't feel like, you know, we are doing presentations, which is important, but is it enough? And I would personally say no, we need more. I really enjoyed the presentation by Zero Eyes actually, because when he talked about preventative measures, he said we have cameras in place, but we're waiting too long. We're waiting until after the event happens to step in and to review cameras when we could do it beforehand. We want to be more preventative, right? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying when it comes to mental health. By having committees where we see where the problem is, we find out what's going on, we have a team that can really do the research, talk to the parents, talk to the students, talk to those, and see what's going on, where the problems are, and really do some preventative measures that can really help before it gets bad. So it's the same thing almost as what Zero Hours wants to do. It said, let's do it beforehand, let's catch them before they come, not look at it after. And I feel like that's where we're at right now. And I think that by establishing a mental health committee that has professionals on it, where we can find out, again, from the community, what's the problem, and then look into areas of improvement that can be placed. You know, right now we have paths at Sidway, we have web at the middle school, we have restorative practices at the high school. Which one's the best? Do we know? Do we know if is one leading to the other? Are we being consistent across the board? You know, I think all of these things are important, and I think that can really be focused on and, you know, investigated, and we could do more so that we can prevent the crisis, you know, as it's coming. And that's why I want to start, like, the mental health committee, and that's why I believe that, that it can really help. You know, we have the wellness committee, you know, the district wellness committee, it's great, you know, I love being part of it, but we did one big program. You know, again, I don't think that's enough to meet the needs that kids are currently facing. You know, again, the presentations are wonderful, but is it enough?
Do we have a committee like that within the district already similar? Like, I know we have the DEI committee, we have something already in place with the district, and then,
I missed the last meeting, so excuse me if this is repetitive, but is the wellness committee, when I think of
do we have something in place where that's all, I'm just trying to build on what we already have to see where it could go. I mean, do you guys meet regularly?
So if you're asking committee-wise, I mean, I meet with the departments on a regular basis, so I meet with the social workers on a regular basis. For instance, this summer, we actually had a social worker meeting. We talked about universal K-12 family assessment. We talked about, you know, K-12 suicide assessment, et cetera. I do meet with the counselors monthly, I meet with the psychs monthly, so I have those internal meetings. One of the pushes that we talked about at the social work meeting is to start data tracking at each of the buildings, K-12, to show, you know, why are the kids coming down to see the counselor, the school psychologist, the social worker. So we are putting a data tracker into place. And then the other, I know that Dr. Grant said we're going to talk about this around table. We're going to talk about youth mental health first aid right now. I mean, that will be another consistent program, K-12, that we are instituting this year. And it is for the administrators, the teachers, the SRP, you know, including the bus drivers, custodians, you know, et cetera. The administrators were trained over the summer, and then there'll be 12 of us that are actually in the training program that's happening September 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Cheryl, could you just talk a little bit more about the youth mental health first aid training? It's for every employee over the next 2 years. And to Sherry's point, talk about being proactive. Every single employee of this district will be trained in youth mental health first aid. Could you just give just a flavor of how much professional development is involved in the superintendent or a bus driver being trained in youth mental health first aid?
So I'll start, the trainer training program is actually 3 full days. I believe we're running it from 8 to 5, so it's actually the national youth mental health first aid trainers coming in to train us. But every employee of the district has to do a 2-hour training on their own and take the quiz and be able to advance until the in-person 3-hour training. So every single person in the district over the next 2 years will be professionally developed, trained, however you want to call it, and it is a total of 5 hours. You know, it is really, really enough.
Would you recommend, if a board member wanted to go through the training, would you recommend a board member participate?
I think this year we'll probably concentrate on the entire PPS staff, you know, nurses, social workers, sites, you know, et cetera, along with some SLP units, but anybody that sits on the board, if you want to be included in on that training to see exactly what everybody's going to be going through, please let me know, because I will put you in one of the groups that will be trained. So please,
Thank you.
I invite you to do that.
I have a question, and this might be repetitive from last time, I'm not sure. If the wellness committee that we currently have in place, so when I think of wellness for students, I think of physical wellness and health, and then I think of mental health. I think of wellness as it encompasses both. It encompasses not only are you physically fit and well, but are you mentally well as well. So I'm just wondering why we can't have mental health also be a focus of the wellness committee, and rather than that committee be one event, one big event like you worked on last year, Sherry, but be more of what you're talking about where mental health is brought into it. Because when like I said, when I think of wellness, it's both mental and physical for students, social, emotional, and it's all encompassing. And I would love to see that committee take
Like the
on
district
mental
ones?
health.
The district ones?
Yeah, I
Well,
think
that was kind of a suggestion, but, so when we form committees, we try to understand, first of all, the need, which we obviously all know the need. But in our brainstorming, are you brainstorming for ideas to come up with services to provide or professional development for our staff? Like,
It could be that stuff, so.
well, it could be or it will be, like, we have to understand what you are anticipating, what this committee will do. Like, when we brought our food service committee forward, it was to balance, because we were running in the negative. When we brought forward our, community ed, it was because it was running in the red. Like, so when we bring forward committees, to understand the need is one thing, but we have to understand what the end game is, what our goals are. Is it professional development? Is it to add services? And then to determine how to get there, right? And then if we can determine that, we can understand the need and understand what our goals are, then we determine what that committee will look like, how it develops, who sits on it, and it very well could be an extension to the committee you're already on.
Yeah,
And
so
that
if we
could
did an
provide
extension
it.
to that committee, then I
But
would
we
want to
have
add,
to
I would want to add
understand.
parents and students. That's where I'm,
Well, we
that's
have
where
to
I would want
understand the
to.
end goal before we have to know the need and the goals before we determine the makeup of the committee.
Well, we
So,
know the need, right?
so.
So the goals would be to meet the needs, which is where we're struggling with mental health with students.
And where do we want to go with it? Is it professional development? Is it services? What is it? I know early detection, we know early detection, like we want to be preventative. Well, how do you feel we're lacking in that? We do professional development. I will tell you, every professional sitting in this room is aware and is looking, right? Like, our teachers are aware. I mean, Grand Island, they do. Our nurses, our teachers, they catch a lot of it. Do they catch it all? No. I mean, more tools for them, more services. Like, we have to understand where we're going with the community, right? Like, what's our end game?
I mean, this would take a little bit of time to come over, and I would have to meet with other people to kind of come up with something specific, but there's definitely a need. The goal would be to meet the needs of mental health that are struggling, and there's different avenues, so it's not like it's one answer where, okay, we're going to meet the needs by just doing professional development. Well, I think that by bringing students in, you're going to see what the needs are, and then we would talk with the committee, right, and say, okay, these are needs coming in, these are students that are saying, these are areas, right? And it's also a resource center where people can come and say, hey, listen, this is coming up, you know, what's the best way to approach this situation? Because with mental health, it's different all the time. I can't tell you a specific situation where you're like, okay, this is how you solve this is how you solve this, because
I
it's very.
understand that.
So for me to come up with like a general answer is a little difficult, right?
But
So
to
that's
put a
why.
committee together,
Well, then I would be okay with adding to the district wellness committee, right? So we would want to add, obviously, an element of social work, or an element of counselors, an element of, and again, I would want to have parents and students available, you know, teachers, where it becomes a resource center, but it also becomes an area of communication to see where the needs are, because, you know, I can't tell you exact needs, you know, of every building. I know people come to me a lot, and they have different things that they say, but I think that having this committee and having that conversation is the most important thing, and it's the first step. and then you can kind of go from there. So, you know, that would be something that, again, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a social worker, I'm not trained, you know, obviously, so for me to say, okay, it's gonna be this, this, and this, I think that we should bring them all together and then invite parents, because a lot of them do have questions. And yeah, there's resources online, and Jessica did an amazing job, and this is not to say that the district isn't doing hard work, because you have. You've done a ton, and this is not in any way to be disrespectful. I think you've done an amazing job, and I'm really proud of all the work that you've done. But I think that a lot of parents just looking online can't find their answers, or they still feel overwhelmed. So having just to be able to have that open communication and say, hey, listen, we have this meeting every month, come, talk, we review things, or even, you know, in different buildings where teachers are struggling with different unique and challenging situations that are going on, and say, hey, this is a resource area to say, you know, this is the evidence base to show this is how you work on this, or this is how you help with this. You know, your training is one thing, but there's more questions even after the training.
I think some of the data too that Cheryl just mentioned, they're starting to collect with students that come down for help to counselors and social workers, keeping that data of, you know, what the issues are when they come down in general, what the issues are, and how many students are coming down, how many students are coming down multiple times, and for what. That data being provided to a committee would then give you direction to possible programming, possible professional development,
So-
depending on what the issues
Right, and we kind
are
of
that
wanted to
the
look
data
at,
shows.
we wanted to also kind of look at not only, you know, that type of data, but like, for instance, in October, you know, across the buildings, is there something we could focus on? Is something happening like school phobia, you know, in October that is not happening then again in May? So we wanted to look at it that way too, like, what are we seeing in the different months? So that's the reason for that data trackers, to make sure that we're collecting that data and we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and you're looking at other schools who are putting in initiatives that are making huge differences where you're like, okay, this is the newest research that's showing that, you know what I mean, just having that constant focus and look, you know, that doesn't always happen, you know, because there's so many different things going on in other committees.
So is that data that can be shared here at the table?
Oh, yeah,
At meetings?
when we
get
met as a
updates?
group, that was one of the things that we decided, you know, that I was going to give updates to the board of education, you know, about the data tracker, what we're seeing in the schools, absolutely.
And then Sherry, one additional question for you. So were you envisioning maybe a committee, but then also an open forum kind of situation?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that-
my question.
So I was wondering if it's just a monthly open forum, right? And we have social workers, and instead of it being like for vaping or whatever, we have a set monthly forum where parents can come and speak, and there's counselors and whatever, and then questions can be answered.
The only reason I was thinking committee is because the people that would join are, like, you don't want to force anybody to come every month, right? Like, hey, you have to come to
Well,
this meeting every month.
a
So you have a
committee would have to meet every month, and then those committee members would have.
But they
to come.
choose to, right? They volunteer to be on the committee.
Well, they could volunteer to come every month or not, and then that would allow, like, let's just say she has a concern in January and she wants to come. She's not on the committee, so she
Yeah.
wouldn't be invited. But then Steve wants to come in February, he doesn't have a concern. So that really brings the whole community in.
So,
So there could be more, the committee could come you could have maybe a small group that's there every month, but you really want to invite the community in, because if you have the same 10 people, it's going to be the same 10 issues. But if you invite the whole public, then it's going to be the whole school district's issue, right? Like, so instead of a committee, and you could have a committee, but I really think it needs to be open up to the whole district if you're gonna do
Well,
that.
so like there,
So
so,
committee could plan a forum too, right, during the
Open,
school year.
because
An open
otherwise-
forum that,
Because as it's
We did
ever
that
changing, every
last
family has
year.
different issues.
exactly.
So
And
it's
well,
we did that
Yeah.
last
Mental
year.
wellness, we did one, but
Wellness last year.
that's
We could
something
do it
that the
more
wellness
often.
committee could do. and
Yeah,
have
this one would be
monthly
just focused on that,
forum
right.
And
well, like I
start with
know,
that approach.
I know like there was a parent that had a complaint to one of the administrators, and the administrator said, you know what, why don't you come to the DEI meeting? Why don't you come and talk about this? So, and I love that, like I thought that was a great idea. So it's the same thing, right? So if there's mental health concerns, hey, we have this committee, why don't you go to the committee and you can talk to, you know, you can answer some questions that you might have. It's just focused on that, though, that's the difference where, yeah, you can have an open night, but I think that, you know, as issues arise throughout the year, you can say, wait, we do have a mental health committee that is focused on mental health and
I think it needs to be open to the public though, because I think that if you would get,
absolutely.
I think those meetings would, I mean, if we put together a committee, I think those meetings have to be open to everybody. Because it's a concern to everybody, and if we're gonna really wanna be proactive and preventative, then we really need to encompass everybody. Because everybody's needs, as you have said, will be different, and they'll be different at all grade levels. We should encompass all of that, and if we're gonna do it, I would say, I don't want to use the word correctly, but all encompassing, and we need to open it up. Those meetings will have to be, you know, publicized.
Yeah.
Well, I would picture a committee that was part of a mental health committee, or a wellness committee that incorporated mental health, and then the wellness committee planned open forum nights where everybody from the community could come in, exactly what Sue was talking about, and discuss their concerns or whatever questions or issues they're having. I think having mental health as part of the wellness committee would be important to have that smaller group meet in case people aren't comfortable coming to a forum. I know I would never be, as a parent, comfortable coming to a forum and talking about my issues or any issues I have, or even as a student, in front of a large group of people. But I might make it known to a counselor who would then, the data would go to Cheryl, and then that data would be looked at possibly by the committee to form whatever kind of programming was needed. So I think that, well,
Again, you might even already have the programming in place. This is not, again, not to say that you guys aren't doing a ton, because you are, you know what I mean? It's just a more focused approach.
Well, that's the thing, if it's a focused approach, like, I guess I'm missing the point, what's the focus? Like, I'm not getting it. So if it's a forum, or if it's a committee, and if it's a forum, we also have to be, you have to be careful as to giving out any sort of medical advice as well. So, I think that you have to tailor exactly what you're saying. Like, is there specific tasks for a committee? Are you going to be able to measure the objectives? I guess I'm missing.
Well, I think the wellness committee would come up with a mental health goal, right, as well as whatever goals you currently work on. And if one of those, one goal might be to have a forum every so many months, or a couple forums a year. I don't know.
When's the next wellness meeting?
I don't
Next one.
run that one.
Well, that one was put on hold, remember? The town one was.
We're not talking about that.
You're talking about the
No,
district?
the district
Right.
wellness.
Well, that's
When is that
because
next
the.
meeting?
No, that's okay, I was
Because the
confused, sorry.
focus of that is what Cheryl just
The
discussed.
district wellness, I emailed, but I haven't heard anything about a date yet.
I think it's hard to move forward with a committee that the board can't come to terms with exactly what it needs to be, right? Like, we all agree that it needs to be on wellness, but it really, we waver in what the direction is, right? And I don't know if administration wants to take a look at it. I mean, we all understand that we need it, right? But we're all saying, there's 5 of us sitting here, and when you're 5 of us, and we're all kind of saying a different thing. And,
Yeah, I'd like to just jump in real quick. Couple of things. By hiring Brett Banker, he not only will lead us in athletics, but also lead us in physical education and health. And I know, Mike, you're a supporter of him. Actually, you're going to get a little stipend to support him in those efforts. So if you, Sherry, had emailed somebody, Chris DeMarco's no longer going to work on that committee because he was the leader, but it would be Brett Banker and with support of Mike Antonelli and maybe some other administrators. So to everybody's point, I think it's excellent to add mental health to that committee and let the committee then decide the best way to touch base with our community. It may not be, having forums once a month, but it would be something that embraces the support of mental health in our community. We have a 5-year strategic plan. The very first goal is to steward the district toward improved services and support that foster the wellness and behavioral health of students. That was established before COVID and has been our benchmark, working with the board to make sure that we have access to hiring additional personnel. This major initiative of youth mental health first aid, obviously we're stealing the idea from some of my colleagues in other districts, but I can also tell you that not every district will have that additional layer of proactive support that we will have over the next 2 years. So I think adding mental health to our wellness committee, which focuses on food nutrition, that focuses on physical activity, and now we'll have another focus on mental health, will be a great way to access more information from that committee and establish some new initiatives, I think, for the district. So I hope that that's okay with the board, and we'll definitely run with that. And Danielle, I think you're asking excellent questions about goals and vision and how do we measure success. And that's going to be something that we would put in the hands of that committee to, bring professional people together, maybe parents and other committee members, to establish what that goal looks like, while also doing a archaeological dig on what we've been doing over the last 5 years. And that really, I think, goes back to the strategic plan. And honestly, this board has been so supportive over the last 5 years in adding mental health specialists to our team. I can't thank the board enough for that, while also this youth mental health first aid, Mike, I'm going to pick on you a minute. We have about 280 teachers and almost equal SRP. Is that a rough estimate, right? Administrators and our board. You're talking over 500 people will be trained in youth mental health first aid as a proactive measure in a warm handoff to a child who presents with behavioral issues or concern. To me, that is such a remarkable accomplishment of this board. I can't thank them enough for that support. And there are other things, I think, Sherry, as you said, that we could probably be doing a little better. Mike, your PATS program, PBIS in the elementary schools, evaluative beings. John Fitzpatrick will be a guest presenter in the New York State Council of School Superintendents conference in the Leadership Summit this fall as one of the leaders in evaluating children 3 times a year in our middle school who are giving and sharing information about their wellness and how that's analyzed and providing more support. John will be a presenter, a New York State presenter with that company, and Mark Beeler, I think, and Jeff Raby's going to be there. High quality superintendents who are doing this work. So there's a lot to celebrate, and that's really my message. There's a lot to celebrate, but it doesn't mean we can't get better. So I'm grateful to the board for adding this to the wellness committee. And Mike, I know maybe you and I and Brett, along with Cheryl, can just sit down and kind of map out what this means. It'll be something new for Brett in the sense of being new to our district, but I think his expertise will be a really godsend for us.
Brett's done similar before, and he's already met with the new department chairs, one of the people here already too, so.
Okay, yeah, for health in particular.
Yeah.
So Brett hasn't started,
Correct.
mind you. He
Yes.
starts September 7th. But to his, I know we're recording this, but Brett has been coming on half days to, become assimilated to our culture and our needs. So we're very, very blessed to have him. So I hope that helps the board and just give us a little time to, work this through. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the public comment session, general items not included in this agenda. We did not have anyone sign up for that. So that brings us to committee of the whole items and information for the roundtable, beginning with Sherry. Thank you very much. Okay, I just had community ed meetings, so if you're interested in signing up for the fall, should be up and available on September 1st to sign up. The fall catalog is already on the website, so be sure to check out all the great offerings. from Community Ed, and register starting just in a couple days on September 1st. So that's all I had to say.
I just really wanted to say congratulations to our graduates. They graduated this morning. It's really great to see those kids that take the extra time and the extra effort to graduate in August and come and show up in August to graduate. They get cake, by the way, which is fantastic for us. But it's really, I think it's a special opportunity, and it's really one of my favorite events to attend as a school board member. Just want to welcome everybody back to this school year. I will be here opening day this year. I don't know if that's good or bad for y'all, but I will be here, September 5th in the morning. Good luck to our athletes. They've been working hard for almost 2 weeks. For many of them, their season starts this weekend. That 8 a.m. wake-up call will be early for us volleyball parents. But I'm really looking forward to the year. My son is starting his junior year. He's excited. We're all excited for the year. So good luck to all of you. And all of the new employees, and for all of you in your new positions. John, we are hoping that he comes in with the enthusiasm as you do in middle school, but good luck in your new role as well. Yes, we did ask if you loved middle school as much, so good luck to both of you. We're both excited to have you both in new positions for the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, just congrats to our summer graduates, and glad I saw her still here. Cindy, that was a wonderful event you put on tonight for Diane, so thank you very much for all that hard work and the
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Prim.
Sure, just want to touch base. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I was going to.
You covered it, good?
Yep.
Bob, you're good? Mike?
I'll just mention what
Yeah.
you mentioned about staff development days, superintendent's conference days. Coming up on September 5th and 6th, Brian showed the schedule up top. I just want to mention and highlight the key field speaker for our September 6th day, which is Brian Mendler. All teachers, instructional staff will get a copy of his book, That One Kid. He is a very engaging speaker. I've actually seen him before in a prior district. I know I want to thank Adam for actually coming out with the idea and really working with us to kind of bring it to fruition. So the credit really goes to Adam. But we're excited about him coming. He's really engaging, really a great person to start off on the year on a positive note. Very practical in the way he speaks and talks, and I hope that we all get something out of it, whether we are an instructor, educator, principal, administrator, or support staff, because I think he really has something to offer.
That's what I said, Mike. I want to thank Young and Wright, our architects, Campus Construction, and Hudson Russ for contributing to purchase the book for every teacher and staff. To the extent possible, every staff member they can benefit from it will receive his book as well. And I want to thank everybody, Adam and Mike and Jill, who supports you in all that work, for all that good work. Additionally, Cindy, there's no doubt that this was an amazing event tonight, and your strategy of introducing us to the need of air conditioning here in this building is well noted, so I appreciate that additional sense, but you did an amazing job. And as Sue mentioned, fall sports are underway. Even though students haven't started on September 7th, they really started with practices and trainings and taking risks. Many of our kids took risks to try out for different sports, and we thank them for that. And we have our opening contest this Friday against Newport, football game. And I think before that, there's some soccer games in Clarence, with our boys. And I don't know, Jude, is there anything coming up? Wednesday too? Clarence? Clarence too, yeah. So that's a really great tradition. And we wish our athletes well in their extensions of what they love the most in their lives. Just one other note, and we'll get us out of here. The pandemic is over. Just want to throw that out there. The pandemic is over, okay? So you may see some alarming news stories about another variant of COVID-19. I just wanted to let you know that officially the pandemic is over, right? So when I talk to superintendents and educators and students and families, I would let you know that we will be strong advocates for our students to be here in school, to enjoy all that we have to offer, and if anything comes our way that is different, you can expect the Erie and Niagara school superintendents to be a voice of reason with the state education department. So that's all I have to share.
Okay, if I could have a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting at 8:29 p.m., please. And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Good night, everyone.